love that fucking trance music we got going on.
Well, must be Thursday. It's Kevin Petersen Day. Kevin, how are you doing?
Kevin and Jay. Is
got the American flag going.
The pig,
Proud American.
That's where that's where you and I had lunch 2 years ago when you came out here for the golf tournament.
Where was that?
The Bearded Pig.
Oh, that's right.
Jacksonville Beach, Florida, baby.
Yes. Oh, well, Jacksonville, Florida. Know it well. So, how are you doing, sir? Life is good. It's a jury day in Texas. So, how's it over in Florida?
Oh, it's really beautiful. It's it's March, and so we're rolling into that really good weather. And I think today it's in the 70s. The humidity is not, it's like 72. The humidity is 69%. So we're not in that, oh my God, this sucks yet. That's another month or two away.
Well, you got something to look forward to at least.
Yeah, well, that's when all of a sudden everybody's like, I'm going to Asheville, North Carolina.
Well, I thought today what we're going to do is, let's call it Misconception Thursday. So what we got people kind of writing in and kind of, instead of going with questions, we're going to kind of take a lot of some common misconceptions. And so, and just fire them at the one and only Petersen, and we can talk about them. I think the most common that we kind of get, both of us, I would say, I'll throw you in the mix, is, parents, loved ones, put them in treatment 30 days, most like a frozen pizza. Put it in 30 days, dinger goes off, comes out 30 days, everything fine and dandy. We as a family don't need to do anything. He does 30 days of treatment, everything should be fine. Pizzas, the cheese melted, everything's great, right, Kevin?
Speaking of pizza, common misconception, pineapple does belong on pizza.
Jesus.
Let's be super clear.
Let's not. And
another misconception, Whataburger sucks. In-N-Out rocks. But back to your question.
I think what a great show, Kevin. I think we ran out. God damn.
I know. Straight to the controversy.
God.
So here's the thing, and I was literally just talking to another family about this yesterday or 2 days ago. Today's Thursday. Oh my God. The thing is, 30 days doesn't solve the problem. It's a great beginning and it creates a great foundation. What I believe in is the first 30, 60, 90 is just about clearing the head, clearing the mind, clearing the body, and sort of having that emotional, spiritual wake up. It's like, oh, I was killing myself and I was going to die. To me, the initial stage or episode of treatment is definitely, I think 30, 60, 90 is what I always lobby for. But then what I want to see is them go into a managed aftercare program that has sober living, probably a partial hospitalization, which is about 20 hours a week, or an IOP, which is 12 hours a week program, either attached to the sober living or like a handshake partnership environment. Like, yeah, you can live here, but you got to go to IOP. Oh, okay, cool. And you got to get a JOB, and you got to get your life squared away, and you got to, this isn't just a place to crash. This is a place to continue the progress that you've made in treatment. And most studies show it takes about 18 months to 24 months to get all the brain chemistry and synapses clicked back in and everything cleaned up and back together. So I would say people really need help for, I would say, a minimum of 9 months, if not a year. And then, and I'm not saying you got to go to the most expensive environment. And as a matter of fact, I'll tell you, there's a place here in Brunswick, Georgia, that I'm a massive fan of called Doc's Place. And Up front, I think it costs a certain amount of money, a couple of grand for the first month. And then the guy that owns it, Nate, who's the man, very clearly says, that's the last time I'm taking a check from mom and dad. That's not going to happen. You are now, young man, it's a men's only program. You are going to get a JOB and you're going to start paying the tab. And they have clinical services attached to it. And it's a 12-month program. And no, you can't go for 3 months. You click in for 12 months. They come out and they get it together. That kind of commitment is really what's necessary.
Awesome. And the family, doing their work as well. I think there's a misconception that the family just drops them off, kisses them on the cheek goodbye, and wishes them luck. The family needs to be doing the work as well.
Well, yeah, and that's another big piece about that program. And the other program, there's other programs like that around the country. I'm sure programs like that as well. They're successful because they engage the family and they have a family program as well. And not just a weekly meeting where we all talk about, what do I do about my kid? Or that people tell stories and create, sob stories about their children. It's the goal, is for the family to actually dig in and do their own stuff and talk about their issues and their concerns and what they need to handle. Yeah. That's a big deal. I get really nervous when I see family programs that are really designed more about families trading secrets about how to control their children, adult children or whatever.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, I just think from my standpoint, when you talk about intervention or just kind of really coaching or consulting or anything, when you can look the client in the eyes, and when you say your mom and dad are getting help, your mom and dad are doing counseling, your mom and dad are going to meetings, or are willing to do, your mom is going to an intensive for a week or something, it means something to them, to know that it's not them, it's not just putting it all on Johnny, saying Johnny, you need to get sober, and all the family's problems will just automatically disappear and so forth. And then a lot of times in my world, you talk about talk about treatment, you talk about getting help. The first thing people say is, I'm not going to AA. I don't, I'm not religious. I don't want to God, So I think another kind of attachment when you talk treatment, and it's not always the case, but you go treatment, people automatically go to AA and they automatically attach God and religion. I think a common misconception being AA and religion. Yeah, you're getting calls all the time. Is that God calling?
What the heck, man? I was just like,
God's calling you. You have a direct. I'm sure God wants to talk to you. He probably wants to be on the show too. The fact that we're not allowing God to be on the show, he's probably upset.
Hey, I pray every time before we meet. So, that's, I don't know about you. I don't know what kind of program you got.
You called me out. You got me. Jeez.
Oh, no. So another misconception is that AA is a religious program because they use the word God and they pray. Well, here's the thing. No, it's not. I've been going 32 years. You've been going 25?
15.
I keep wanting to give you extras.
Please do. I look more spiritual than I really am.
And that's what matters. And
I fake it very well.
Yeah, I got to be super duper clear. And this is what I tell people. No one has ever told me that I got to go to church. No one's ever told me I got to pick a religion. What they've told me is that it's a spiritual program of action and that I'm going to need help from something other than myself or other human beings, because if they could solve the problem or I could solve the problem, I would and they would, but they can't. And what the 12-step world has led me to is an environment where they're like, you need to come into contact with whatever it is you want to believe in. And it can be anything. We don't care. We absolutely do not care. But you need to come into some sort of in contact with some sort of, engagement, some sort of spiritual engagement that gives you the source of energy and power to get through this process. And all I can tell you is that's worked for me. I have gone to church and then I stopped going to church. And, I've tried, I mean, that's just not my thing. It's just not for me, I do read a lot of really interesting spiritual books. I find that stuff fun and entertaining. But I'll tell you, when I work with a client who's struggling with drugs or alcohol or any kind of addiction, I'm like, look, you don't got to go. That's fine with me. I don't care. I have 2 conditions. You have to become fully abstinent. And what I mean is, yes, you've got to quit drinking and you got to quit smoking weed and taking edibles. Okay. You got to be clean, 100% clean. And you have to change the way you live, because it's not just, I have a problem with drugs and alcohol. It's the way I live and the way I treat people is unacceptable. So I got to address those things as well. So, how are we going to do that? I'm open. You want to do CrossFit? You want to do yoga? You want to do, therapy? You want to do, whatever. I don't care. Rational recovery, smart recovery, craft, whatever. I don't care. As long as we see those 2 things occur, I vote yes. For me, what's worked for me is the engagement with Alcoholics Anonymous. But that doesn't have to work for you. And if you don't want to go, don't go. That's perfectly okay. Let's figure out the path of how you're going to solve this problem.
Well, you hit you also mentioned therapy within that too. I think
Sure.
You also touched on a misconception that I didn't even think about. Talking about is AA is not an end all be all too. I think some people come in and think that AA can treat their trauma or their childhood issues or all this other stuff. There's therapy. AA is taking the plug, putting the plug in the jug or whatever you want to say. There's trauma and there's other things that you need to sit in and go to a psychiatrist, psychologist, a therapist, and so forth. Please do not think that there's a misconception that AA is the end all be all and it can end all your trauma and anything like that.
No, that's nuts. AA was designed to do 2 things: get you to stop drinking and get you to stop behaving like a dick, and that's really it. That's all it's supposed to do. And it does it perfectly. Now, here's my experience is, when you stop drinking and you start behaving more appropriately, it gives your body and your mind a chance to catch up, and other stuff starts to come to the table. Oh, hey, I had a really weird childhood. And it doesn't have to be like movie of the week weird. It can just be like, my parents were just who they were and we did things differently. And I don't get it. And now I'm married. And now I have kids and I'm struggling and I don't know what to do. And then I go to AA and they tell me, read a book and write inventory, and that doesn't solve the problem, and so maybe some therapy is in order. Another big thing, and this is, this is almost as controversial as the pineapple on the pizza. Medication, for people that are in recovery. And my vote is hell yeah. There are people I want medicated in my AA meetings. I don't know about yours, but and I don't mean that to be funny. I mean, there are people that have suffered some incredibly severe environments and lives and traumas and have all sorts of stuff going on, and they need help. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with somebody who needs help but now let's be clear. I'm not saying you go down and talk to Sunflower at the weed shop and Sunflower prescribes to you, edibles. That's not, no, You go to therapy, you see a psychiatrist, and you have it, you're accountable for these things. Another issue I have is people that go to their family practitioner or their primary care physician and they're like, I have anxiety, and they're like, great, here's your drugs. No, go to therapy. You may need the drugs. It's okay. There's no problem with that, but you need to be engaging with someone on addressing those. Drugs don't solve problems. They address symptoms when we're talking about the mental health stuff. Yeah. So I think it's a combo package of those 2 areas. And again, let's be clear. It all starts with get sober, stay sober. And then, oh gosh, I've got an issue that keeps me up at night, or I can't see straight, or I get, when I engaging with my partner, I see red and I can't think straight. Okay, great. Let's get you some help for that.
Well, it's not, I mean, what you're hitting on, I mean, this is society. I mean, it's not just drugs, alcohol. I mean, you're talking, food, overeating. I mean, overworking. I mean, there's all the things. I mean, the society. I mean,
Yep.
I mean, the drug company is making the killing. I mean, we're ingrained that we have a little pill that can solve anything, and we can have, food and the anyway, it's.
Yep.
I'm on my high horse just because I'm doing more and more in the last 30 days, and it's even longer than that. As I said, I was only going to do 30 days, but eating more, clean and more healthy and doing plant-based. And it's, I don't know, it's
Yep.
I feel a lot better, but it's interesting as I got more and more research done, how the thoughts that I've grown up with thinking, and it's like things I thought were gospel truth were just things I was basically just misled to be truths. I mean, so all these misconceptions. I mean, I'm glad we're doing misconceptions. I mean, like I think there's, I don't know if I would be careful. I don't know, it's not a misconception, but I would say it can lead to be a misconception. Be careful where you're getting your information from, because I think when we're in this industry and when I'm getting phone calls in chaos and frantic, and they're saying like, who's telling you that you've done this? And it's like, so I want to tell parents, like, be careful who you're getting your information from. So
beware of false prophets.
Verify and get second, third, fourth opinions. And I'm seeing it more and more, and I will say it more and more. If people are asking for money within the first 10 minutes of you communicating, hang up the phone. They are not a valuable asset facilitator. I've never asked for money in the first 10 minutes because there's information gathering within the first 10 minutes. So anyway, that's my PSA. So I guess, I think we've talked about it more, and I don't know what is the question, but like I'm sure there's a family member here. They're overwhelmed. They don't know where to reach out. But if you're looking to Google or reach out, like they have that issue, what's that first step? I know there's a book for Kevin Petersen. He's got a tremendous book. Go to chronichope.us. He's got free resources. You can reach out to Kevin. He's a valuable asset. He's got free resources. You can reach out to him. But like, what are some really good kind of first steps, free resources to make sure, or let's ask you this, like, what are some, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of vetting questions to see if they're reputable.
You mean if you're reaching out for information about like sobriety or mental health,
or mental health, like
okay, somebody's dispensing mental health wisdom. Well, first things first, I would say make sure that they're a licensed mental health professional. And by that I mean social worker, marriage and family therapist, individual therapist, doctor. And I would also want to make sure that they've done some sort of training in the addiction world and the recovery world, so that they understand addiction and recovery and the relationship between addiction, recovery, and mental health. And that's exactly how I would start is, don't just pick the first person that shows up and says something that you like. I mean, there's a lot of people online, especially social media, that are shooting out really cool stuff to say. But that doesn't, first of all, they probably didn't come up with that, and second of all, you want to make sure that this is someone that, actually practices what they preach. And ask them, just be really clear and ask them, tell me your involvement, tell me your experience. Because to me, that's more valuable than anything, is like, I want to know that somebody's actually addressed this in their life from whatever side of the coin it is, and that they're also professionally trained.
Well, I tell every family member, as interventionists do not have a national certification. There's no license attached to it. Anytime when intervention or anything, I get all the information. I run it through a licensed counselor to get their information about it, and just to get their just for the simple fact that there's no licensing or certification. So if you're talking to coaches or interventionists and they throw a bunch of letters behind their name, they may be a licensed clinician. They can be. Yeah. But there is no certification for an interventionist. I always include a Kevin, or I got several clinicians who are also interventionists. I run the case by them just to clear my conscience and make sure I'm not missing anything. So Kevin's always a good person to run it by because he's got viable letters behind his name. I just have an alphabet soup behind my name just because I like alphabet soup, I guess. So, Kevin, you did a good job.
Jay, it's always a pleasure.
You're definitely not a misconception. Even though, you started off with a pineapple and then you're taking shots at Whataburger. I mean, I'm not even a big Whataburger fan, but now I felt the need to stand up. But I made a commitment today in morning meditation to be more tolerable and kind of just accepting of other people's. So I thought I did a very good job. Yeah. And I listened to your stance. I marinated on it. I still think you're wrong, but okay.
We got to bring an expert. We got to bring Duke Rumley on and Eric Button.
But I will say, the only thing that saved you is I really do love In-N-Out. So
it's hard not to. I mean, it's just hard. It's hard not to.
Any burger and fries, you can't. I don't argue. I just I've never had a bad burger and fries. So anyway, we do this every Thursday. If you're watching a replay, don't hesitate to put a comment or a like or a question, and we'll get to it next week. But we do this every Thursday. Kevin, always a pleasure. Keep doing what you're doing, and we'll do this next week. See ya.
All right, brother.